Welcome to Connect with Christina. Season 3 has just been amazing. I have another spectacular person next to me. You'll probably recognize her, especially if you're in property management. But our good friend, Becky Noel. Say hi.
Hi, everybody.
You know, you have to remind everyone, how long has it been that, well, not that we've known each other, because I know when we met, but like property management altogether.
Oh, gosh, it's been over 20 years.
See, we're lifers. That's what we say.
Lifers.
If you do property management or you work in that space, there's a thing we say. It's in your blood.
Well, absolutely. And I still have a lot of the property managers from my past career that contact me for help. They have questions. They're not sure about something.
And what are the different positions that you served in property management?
So I never was in property management, but I
Directly.
worked for the Tucson Police Department, and I did a national program called Crime-Free Multi-Housing.
You guys all know what that is.
Yeah. So put on 4 classes a year that anybody dealing with rental properties could attend. So whether you were an owner of a single-family housing, or you were property managers for a huge apartment complex, a small apartment complex, condos, anything, could attend the class and learn how to try to keep their property safer.
I was there when that program was born, and I loved that. But I would say, for me, that crime-free program is so important that's how I relate to you. Is to me, your property management.
Right.
Because you were right there.
Oh, absolutely. I probably did as many evictions as a lot of people, helping them, walking them through, helping them navigate through the paperwork. Because a lot of the managers, especially if they work for a smaller company, didn't get the training that the larger companies did. Mm-hmm. And so they were, flying by the seat of their pants. They didn't know what a 10-day notice was. They didn't know how to do a 24-hour eviction or anything. So they would call and ask for help.
Yeah. No, is that still in effect in Tucson?
It is still in effect, not to the degree that it was when I was still there, and even the person who took my place. There have been some federal laws that have changed that have kind of scared people from using the program as much as it used to. It's still there and could still go very strong, but I don't think that it's probably there as strong as it used to be.
Well, I hope it goes back to the
I wish it would
was,
too.
because I thought it was just absolutely helpful.
I agree totally.
So, and on both sides, residents, landlords, all of it.
Well, and for the tenants, because even
Yeah.
the tenants would call and have problems with the managers, because, it's like any other profession. You've got good managers and you've got bad managers and you've got mediocre. And so a lot of the owners, slumlords, wouldn't do what they needed to do by fixing things. And so the tenants would get hold of the managers, which would contact me. And so it was all about landlord-tenant law, too.
Yeah, you're definitely the go-to, for sure.
Thank you.
But we get to talk about some extra awesome stuff. Our friend Becky here has a book coming out.
Well, myself with 14 other women, but yes, it's been 2 years in the making. We're really excited about it.
So please talk about that.
Okay, so it's been going on now probably about, 2 years, and 2 different women, Deb Anderson and Rhonda Peoples, had kind of collaborated together and came up with this idea. So they each reached out to friends of their own. Deb and I are very close, and so Deb asked me if I wanted to be in it. And of course, at first I was like, oh no, I don't want to do that. I'd never thought of myself as being an author or a writer or whatever. But then I was like, well, maybe. So I decided to do it, and 14 other women. And so this was all during COVID, and we had Zoom meetings every week that lasted usually about an hour and a half, sometimes 2. And the cool thing about this book is we each wrote a chapter about something that influenced our life or that we lived through, lived with. It could be any type of an experience like that, and how it helped form where we are today. And so what we did is every week when we would have our Zoom meeting, we had like a little assignment, and we each read each other's chapter. And then, like for myself, when it was time for me to present my chapter, everybody had like a week or two to read my chapter. And then they would give their 2 cents. And it was
That's
never
amazing.
it was never degrading, it was never cutting, it was always so supportive. I remember when I ended that Zoom meeting, I felt so good about myself and about my article, my chapter, because I was like, wow, they actually liked that. But they were so uplifting and so supportive. And so we did that for all 15 women and gave our ideas and, oh, well, maybe, I don't quite understand this, or maybe you could cut that or whatever. And so we've come up with this book, and it's gone to the publisher now, and we're super excited.
We're excited.
Yeah.
I mean, guys, so many good things came out of COVID, and I know so many bad things came out too. But this is a proof that out of bad times you can still,
Well,
come out.
absolutely. And women, at least this is how I feel personally. I feel like we don't support each other as much as we should, especially depending on certain groups or whatever. But I've always been, every job I've ever held has always been in a man's world. And so, true story, when I was working my way up through grocery management back in Texas and New Mexico, everybody that I worked with that were friends, so-called friends, would say, oh my gosh, I would never want to be in management. That's not my cup of tea, but I'm so excited for you. Good luck, blah, blah, blah. Then whenever I got promoted and I got sent from Texas to New Mexico to be in management, one of, 5 women managers in the entire United States. So that was a big deal back in the day.
Huge.
Instead of being supportive, I started hearing that those same people that were trying to be supportive were like, oh, she slept her way to the top. I wonder, who's behind, did she kiss for that one? And it was like, what? And so that can be very detrimental to people's confidence.
Yes.
And so women need to be more supportive for each other. We need to be there for each other. And that's what this book is
100%.
about. It's all about helping women feel empowered.
The fact that I'm still stuck on that you guys did this through Zoom. That many people through Zoom. I mean, you have found the best of the best people to be in this book, because that's hard. Right? I mean...
Well, and we started off with a lot more, and it was funny because Deb and I were talking about it on the way up here. She drove up with me from Tucson, and we were talking, and my gosh, we probably lost, I don't know, at least 10 people, that had first wanted to join on the first book. But then they started going, oh, this is really a lot of work. Well, yeah, it's a lot of work. And so they just didn't have the time. Maybe they wanted to. But some of those women now they're participating in book 2, because we actually have book 2 in the process. And then we're talking about there will also be a book 3. And we just have so many things on the horizon that we want to do. And it's all about helping women and empowering women.
I love that. But talk about where this even came from. Deb started an organization, right? So can you speak
Deb
on
and
that?
Rhonda, right. Rhonda is a shaker and a mover. She is, both her and Deb are involved in eWomen Network, which is an international organization, all for women. They just had their national conference just within the last couple of months in Dallas, Texas. And thousands of women go and participate, and it's all about women. It's all about speaking.
And it's international.
Absolutely. It's just about helping women build themselves up. And like what you're doing, you promote businesses and you promote things. And it's all about promoting women and helping them be what they could be. Mm-hmm. And maybe they don't realize they could be that way. So Rhonda and Deb, and if you know Deb, my good friend, she's a writer. And she's also a photographer, and she is just wonderful.
Creative. She's a creative.
She is. She's very creative, and she's wonderful on envisioning things and looking out into the vastness and going, oh, let's try to do this. And over conversation, her and Rhonda just started talking, and then they were like, hey, why don't we try this? And so they reached out to friends, and she reached out to me, and like I said, I kind of was like, I don't want to do that. And then I did it, and I'm really excited that I do. I'm so excited, and I read my chapter now. I actually read it to my longtime boyfriend, and he just looked at me like, huh? He could not believe that I had written something like that. And I think he also, in hearing me read it to him, because I read it to him, and in hearing me read it to him, he also learned even more about myself. Learned more about me.
Even after
that, over 20 years we've been together. And he just kind of looked at me dumbfounded and went, that was amazing. And that was exciting too, coming from him.
Right.
So,
well, we can't wait to read it. And I know everyone in property management, especially in Tucson, they're going to be very, very supportive.
I hope so. I think everybody is really going to enjoy the book. I would not be involved in something that I didn't believe in. And anybody that knows me, one of the one words that they always say about myself, Becky, you're passionate. So I was very passionate about the crime-free program when I was with the Tucson Police Department.
Yes.
I'm very passionate about this book. For me to take on something, I have to really believe in it and enjoy it, because I'm not going to do anything I don't enjoy. And so that passion comes out. And by being so passionate about it, it actually kind of makes other people get excited about it, because they see my thrill in it,
right,
and my passion, and it's contagious. So I am super excited about this, because I really think it's going to help people. And there's chapters, and I don't.
And I love that there's 15, right?
15.
I mean that because I like reading things like that.
Yes.
That way it's like
well, and that's the thing. This is true stories. These are heartfelt. I mean, for some women, it was really hard for them to
tell their story.
Yeah, it was really hard for them and emotional. Mm-hmm. They needed sometimes a lot of encouragement and a lot of support.
I bet it was so healing for them as well.
Well, that's the thing. And I think it's going to be very healing for a lot of people who read it. For instance, what I was going to say is I know in part of the book also refers phone numbers that people can call about, whether it's about domestic violence or it's whatever. It gives hotline numbers, and it says that if you're having these issues, this is where you can turn. Because a lot of people, depending on what you're writing about, they feel so trapped, and they don't know where I don't even know where to start on how to fix this or how to get out of it. And so it's going to be, I think the book is going to be
phenomenal. Think the book will change people's lives.
I agree.
I think the book will give people hope.
Yes.
And I think the book will keep people's eyes moving forward.
Absolutely.
So, and I have a lot more questions, but, with the whole friendship to me, this book is based on that. Because it's
Absolutely.
15 women that you put together that you,
right.
You consider friends. And,
right.
Well,
and most of the 15 people, I didn't know any of those people but one. And so now I've met all of those people via Zoom. We've also had get-togethers in Tucson for a lot of the people that live in Tucson. Others that didn't, they joined us joined with us through Zoom and stuff. But just meeting so many different people and reading their stories, it's a real eye-opener. It makes you very thankful for what you have, or it makes you realize that you're not alone.
Right. And that right there is the biggest thing. People
exactly.
feel alone. And people need to know they're not.
Exactly. And depending on what you're going through, you can feel like you're very alone and there's no way out. And to read a story that is true, and your life might actually mirror what you're reading so much, or bits and pieces, and to know that someone else got through that, and this is how they did it, it might give you, might give some of these women that are experiencing the same things, it could give them some insight as to maybe how to
get out of their situation.
Yes, get out of the situation, or change it, or give them another avenue of where to go.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, I think the book is going to give people a voice.
Absolutely.
And we were talking about this earlier. I mean, people really go through it, women especially. So to know that there's going to, especially you said that there's a 2 coming, right? And then there's another. I feel like this is going to keep going. Because I feel like more people, because you're going international, they're going to come forward.
Absolutely. And there's 15 people for the second book also that have hung in there. Started off with like 46 or something, and after probably the first Zoom meeting or 2, lost about half of them. because they were like, oh, it's a lot more detailed, weekly meetings, this and that. I'm not going to have time for that. And so the 15 that are left for the second book, so many of those, there's a couple of them that were involved with the first book also, and that are going to also be involved in the second book. But there's the majority of them are brand new women.
Again,
I mean, it's like a whole nother chapter.
Yeah. Well, and the crazy thing is really all the women can continue because we really have so many experiences, right?
Absolutely.
But with this book going out, I think you're going to get women from all over the world. To your point, as far as like with supporting women, though, I want to circle back to that. So for me personally, I wouldn't know what to do without my friends. And we actually have a little group called Amazing Ladies. Right. I mean,
I love that.
Yeah, and it's the same. You're there to lift each other up, and that's it. And so I know every single one of those women are gonna want to read
awesome.
that book. Which leads me to my next question. There's 15 women, so will you give us an example of like not the whole story, but like where they're from and maybe like the.
Well, they're from all over. We have Texas, California, South Dakota,
all over. But,
Arizona.
And then different things from what? Domestic violence to what?
Oh, I mean, all types of stuff. Their upbringing, it might have been abusive parents. It could have been abusive relationship. It could have been a marriage that went south and, feeling trapped or not being able to get out of it because of the children involved. And I mean, it's all walks. Yeah. It is all walks of life. It's all about trying to make people realize that you're not the only one that has ever gone through this, even though they really know that. But when you are going through it, you feel like you're all alone. And
you go through it.
You do go through it. And unfortunately, when a lot of people, I see this with a lot of women, they get married and you become so focused with the husband and your activities and doing things as a couple, and then especially if there's children involved and this and that sometimes you kind of lose yourself because you're living for those kids and you're doing all of that, and then the kids grow up and you may still be with your husband, you may not, and then all of a sudden you'll wake up one day and you'll go, wow, where do I go from here? Such as like the empty nest syndrome. A lot of people have a really hard time with that because their entire adult life has been living for someone else. They've lived for those kids. They've lived for the husband. Now, all of a sudden, maybe that has gone away. They're widowed, they're divorced, or the kids are gone. And so it's all those types of stories.
Right.
So they're all over the spectrum as far as
I like that because I'm a huge advocate of course, if you're in a relationship, you want it to work.
Absolutely.
You're not in there. You don't get married to think you're going to get divorced. So you do give it your all.
Absolutely.
But I always tell my friends, do not forget yourself.
That's exactly right. Even I'm not married, and I haven't been for a long time now. But even when I was married, it worked out so well because I encouraged him to go and play golf with the guys. And then I would go shopping or lunch and stuff with a girlfriend or two. And we kept those relationships because I had friends that put 200% into their marriage. Not that we all don't do that, but they never did anything with anybody else. It was always, if they went shopping, her and him were together. If they went to the movies, her and him were together. And they did everything together. They loved each other. It was wonderful. And that's great. But then all of a sudden, he passes away. And she's left sitting there going, I don't even know how to think by myself.
Right.
I don't really even have any good friends because he was my best friend.
Right.
And that's tough to go through.
Right.
And so, this book is all about that type of stuff.
And we can teach the young women that too, because sometimes, like you said, you get into a relationship and you forget about your friends.
You do.
But then when something happens, who do you go to?
Absolutely.
And then you wonder why they're not there. So I feel like every relationship, it's a relationship and you have to invest in it.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely. And that includes whether it's with girlfriends, boyfriends, husbands, or whatever. Mm-hmm. Any relationship, it takes two to make it work.
Right.
How many times have you heard somebody, or maybe you've had friends and you're like, I'm really tired of like this one-way relationship.
Right.
I always call them. I
You're
always
always
invite
checking
them
out.
out.
Oh,
Yes.
how are you? Checking in.
I'm
And
always
then-
reaching out to you, but you never call me. Well, I'm busy, and I'm busy too.
Right.
It's two ways.
Right, always.
Yep.
And earlier you were saying about that relationship where it's a beautiful story, and then the man passes away. Well, sometimes that's not the story. Sometimes it's the man says, "I don't want to be with you,"
Absolutely.
and then what? Then that's even worse.
It is almost worse because losing them is devastating, but to
The
be
betrayal.
told that they don't want to be with you anymore and they leave, and we all know, unfortunately, a lot of times the man, there might be somebody younger, there's somebody else, whatever the case may be, and that leaves the other person to sit there and go, what's wrong with me? I thought we were happy.
Right.
What did I do wrong?
Yeah.
What could I have done differently?
Right.
And the answers to all those questions may be you couldn't have done anything different because you didn't do anything wrong.
Right. Right. Well, and then I'm hoping to in the book, which I'm so excited to read and give out to all of my friends, is about work too, right? Like let's say, and being a stay at home mom, that is a job.
It's a full-time job.
Yeah, and so much respect for the people that do that, that can do that. But there's that level of always, because it's how I'm raising my kids, I guess, is what I'm saying. So it's like, okay, let's say you have a family, you want to stay home, that's great. But I'm trying to teach them always have something, like a side hustle, always be able to stand on your own 2 feet.
Yes.
And like I said, you're not manifesting bad things to happen. You're just preparing for life. 'Cause
Absolutely.
That's life.
Good for you. Absolutely.
permanent, so.
Life throws you curveballs.
Yeah. So, what other stories are in this book?
Oh my gosh, there are so many stories. I know from mine, for instance, is on self-respect.
Okay.
So I talk about how do you develop self-respect for women that may not have any? Where does that come from? How do you get self-respect? How can you grow that? It does go into some domestic violence stuff and talk about domestic violence. I know there's chapters on different things. We had a lady that had a horrific car accident in California, and she goes into talking about her recovery, and how that has made her change, and how she had to give up certain dreams because her recovery ended up taking over for all of that. There's just so many different things. My gosh, I'm just
And
drawing
on
a
that
total.
car accident, that's obviously super close to my heart because that's what we do for work, is we help people in car accidents.
Absolutely.
People don't realize just how devastating that is.
Well, because she had debilitating injuries, and she's still recuperating from those. And so she's unable to do a lot of what she used to do.
To love.
And that can be earth-shattering all by itself. Besides the pain that you're living with and trying to rebuild your body, you end up having to rebuild your life because things that you were doing before, you can no longer do.
Right.
And
yes, and then it's not just the physical recovery, it's here too, and it's here, and it's just surrounding.
Right.
But I hope that there's also, you guys touch on mental health. That would
Absolutely.
Okay.
The mental health comes into play. We have several people that are life coaches and physical coaches as far as into the physical aspiration and the yoga, the mind, bringing all that into play. And
I love that because there's so much information.
Absolutely. And just being healthy and how to relax. It's unbelievable of how so many people don't like to be by themselves because they feel like they have to be doing something and go. And so I know one of our authors.
That's a big one.
Oh, yeah. I know one of our authors. Her name is Vera. And she is all into that. And she's just a hoot. She is, oh my gosh.
I can't wait to read.
Oh my gosh. She is such a hoot. And she's so much fun. And just a little ball of fire. She reminds me of you. And so she does that type of thing. And she puts on these, right now in Tucson, she puts on these like get-togethers and whatnot where everybody just gets together and she's teaching them how to relax and how to, the spiritual aspect
She said
of it.
relax, and I'm like, oh yeah, my head.
Right. And so it's just, we almost touch so many different things.
Right. See, that's what I'm saying. I'm telling you, this book is going to explode because I see it as just continuous because there's really
Absolutely.
so much.
Right.
It wasn't too long ago, was it this week, that a doctor told me that in Europe, which they should have it here too, this clinic provides pelvic floor type exercises for women that just had a baby. Because in Europe, after you give birth, apparently, he told me that they already have a schedule for them to go see that so they can take care of the pelvic floor area. It's part of the deal. We don't do that here.
No, we don't.
Right? Yeah. And then for me personally, because I've always been in, as far as workspace, we all need help with dealing with nasty people.
Oh, absolutely.
And really the best way to do that. Because I think we all struggle because, you get mad, but you want to be you take the better person, take the higher road.
Well, and they can make
human.
Oh, absolutely. Especially in work environments, they can make your life absolutely miserable.
Right. So hopefully that's in there.
Absolutely.
Because I think, everyone wants to be a better person, a better version of themselves every day. But we all struggle with that.
Right.
Well,
and that's what's so good about this book is it's not, so many different books. You buy a book and it's all about, life changes and it's going to be about spiritual. Or it's going to be about the mental, or they might try to combine the two, or it's about it's a nonfiction, it's a bibliography, what biography, whatever, and so this is such a huge realm of different life experiences,
and they're real.
Yes, and they're coming straight from the heart. That some of these women, it was really hard for them to write. Because as they're writing and putting these words on paper, they're looking at they might be crying, they might be laughing, they might be doing both, because it helped bring it out of them that was in itself, for a lot of them,
I bet you there's
healing.
So much trauma that got healed from writing this book.
And it was healing to be able to put it on paper and to know and to read that and have other people say.
We're laughing because we're making noises.
I know. I said I won't do that. But to have other people tell you how awesome it was, and to be supportive of what you put down, and to look at that and go, wow, I just wrote all of that. All these pages are mine.
Right.
And to look back at it and read it and go, I'm so proud of what I just did. I didn't ever think I'd be able to talk about this, or I've never talked about this. And now that they're looking at it and to know that it's becoming part of a book,
right,
it's just so rewarding.
Yeah, and I am going to stop saying this because I keep saying it because I believe it. And you're going to have to come back
excited.
Here and say, you were right. Because think about it. You have women that have gone through employment where the boss took advantage of them. Right? Sometimes
Absolutely.
It's sexually.
Yep.
Where there's nepotism in the workplace. I mean, it just goes on and on. You have the friend that was a friend, but the whole time she
wasn't a friend.
Sleeping with your husband.
Right.
I mean, it's just, unfortunately,
all types of stuff.
Right. So I think this book will not just empower women, but it's going to give them a voice and pull the rest of the people that never, because I think it's healing.
Well, and I agree, and I've even thought that, and I'm hoping that all the women that are involved in this book, and I'm sure that this will be the case knowing these women, but their significant others, their husbands, their brothers, whoever, need to read this book, or at least read their chapter if they haven't already, because I think they're going to learn things from reading their sister's chapter or their wife's chapter or whatever, and look at that and go, you never even told me that.
Right.
I'm so glad to know that because that really explains some stuff to me. I understand now why you, whatever,
Right. Right.
And just like I said,
I understand why you slap me with a tortilla. I'm just kidding.
hit you upside the head with a cast iron skillet. No, just kidding.
I feel like we should wrap this book up and give it to the husbands anyway. Read all of the.
Well, seriously, but I mean, they also, it's going to be good for men too, because they might read that and go, oh my gosh, that is almost mirror of my aunt or my mom or my girlfriend or whatever.
I feel like it'll deepen their connection.
And it might, exactly, and it might open their eyes to certain behaviors or verbiage that is said that they can go, that makes me understand so-and-so a lot better.
And I like that the book, you mentioned earlier that there's photos and a little bio.
Right.
Because then when you read these stories, you can kind of relate to,
Well, and it gives a personal touch because, you know, anybody who gets the book is going to go, well, who's this? Who's that? So you're going to see the little bio, and it gives you where they come from, what their career might be, or whatever the case may be, and shows you a picture, and it just adds that personal touch that you feel like, well, I know something about the person who wrote this, instead of just going, who's Susie Brown? Who's that? You know, and you don't know anything about her.
So you've heard me say before, one of the things about Tucson is that it's really a very supportive community, right? And they're competitive too.
Yes.
Very competitive, but they are very supportive. So I'm excited because I know the people that are going to be watching this that met you through Crime Free, through property management. I know for a fact they're going to be behind this book. And for me, it's just this extra plus because the book is so helpful.
Right.
Because they would have supported you regardless.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
So, but this,
I hope so.
Yes, I know that. But the book, I think, I believe it's going to be even more than you guys thought.
I hope so. We're hoping so. And the whole thing is, you know, it's not like we're doing this, we're not going to get rich, we're not going to, you know, that's not it at all. It is all about trying to help empower women and help them get out of situations that maybe they feel like they're kind of stuck in or stranded, or just give women encouragement.
And to not be catty with each other. And,
exactly, and be supportive.
Yeah, but be genuine about it.
Talk about it.
Yeah.
You know, have a conversation instead of talking behind somebody's back. Or, you know, we always say, don't ever, you know, until you walk in someone's moccasins, you know, the old Indian proverb or whatever, don't ever complain or talk bad about your neighbor until you've walked a mile in their moccasins, because you don't know what type of day they're having. You don't know what's going on in their life.
Yeah.
They may have a loved one that's dying, and so they're a little short that day, or they've been on edge. Maybe they have, they're waiting for some tests to come back.
You just don't know.
You never know.
Well,
and so,
and
you know, you have to stop and go, I don't know what's happening in their life right now. I'm not going to say anything, but maybe walk up to them and ask them, you know, are you okay?
Right.
If you need anything, just let me know.
And that has to come from the heart.
Yes. And that alone means tons to somebody who's going through it.
Right.
Just that little, I'm here if you need me. You don't have to tell me what's happening, but I can tell you're going through some stuff, but I'm always here, and reach out if you need me.
That human connection too, I don't care how more advanced our technology you cannot replace human connection. Right?
Absolutely.
So, you know, my oldest daughter works at Dutch Bros. She has a very clear path with them. She went to the U of A, and then right now she's in Vegas. And when I talk to her, she just really, I'm just so proud of her, because she'll tell me that it's not about coffee, it's about being there for that one person who just lost their mom, who just lost whatever, right? And so she always says, like, we're changing lives one coffee at a time.
No, I love that. And that is so true.
And she believes that. She's so passionate about it.
Absolutely.
She's quite impressive for being 23.
Good.
So.
Well, look at her mom.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I am a proud mom for sure.
No, but you're also a good role model.
Thank you. So I wanted to add to what you said as far as like how you really don't know what someone's going through. You did a good job explaining that, but even something simpler, like right away when you look at someone, your people are quick to go, well, she's a B,
Absolutely.
or she's got a resting this. But really, you forget sometimes that person is just shy, right? And if you get to know them, they are wonderful. So it's like, don't just judge a book by its cover.
Absolutely.
So tell everyone how to get a hold of this book, in what formats do you have, when?
So the book is due out this fall. We're hoping September, October. We're working with the publisher. We've had to trim it back some, publishers, blah, blah, blah. And so the publisher is Friesen Press. And so we're having communications with them and going back and forth. So we're hoping this fall, September, October, perhaps. And it will be paperback. We want to make it affordable for people. So it's not going to be like a $35 hardback. And we don't have the set price yet, but we're hoping to, $20 or so, right around there.
Perfect gift, you guys.
Absolutely, with Christmas coming up and whatnot. And so we'll be blasting it out on Facebook, Instagram. We encourage everybody listening to go to the Empowering Women Alliance.
I'll put that
We
on
have a
too.
Facebook page for that. The book we'll be blasting the book out on that also.
An audio.
Yes, we're looking at paperback, audio, ebooks, the whole shebang, because so many people seem to do. I like reading a book.
I'll tell you. So the book for me would be a gift from me to someone who I think could use it, but I'm the audio girl.
Right.
So.
And
I'm
I have
glad.
several friends that said, Becky, I just don't have time to read a book. They're horse people. And so while she's out there mucking stalls, she listens to the audiobooks.
Right.
And she goes, please tell me you've got an audiobook coming because I really want to read that. But, she's sun up to past sundown and then falls into bed and starts all over because she has a horse rescue. And I said, absolutely. So that way she'll be able to listen to that as she's working and stuff. But a lot of people, everybody's different.
Right.
I like to have the book in hand. I don't even want to read it on a tablet or whatever, but there's the people that want to do the Kindle.
Right.
There's the people who want to do
So you
audio.
covered it all.
We've got it all covered. So
We'll definitely, through the platform, we'll connect you with more people. One that comes to mind is my good friend Vanessa Ramirez. She's a cancer survivor. She really is about supporting women. I mean, so much so that on her birthday, I saw the very first all-women mariachi.
oh, that's
And when I
awesome.
saw it, I said, this is so Vanessa.
Oh, absolutely.
And everyone said it too.
Yep.
And so, it's a beautiful thing, really, because like you said, we should be more supportive of each other, bring each other up, not pull each other down.
Absolutely.
So before we leave, to that point, I mean, I know why you wrote the book, and we're excited, you and all these amazing ladies. But to the people who are not so kind to women, what would you like to say to them?
I would say take a look in the mirror, and there are going to be times that maybe you don't think, maybe you think you're above everybody or you don't need help from anyone. We all need help from somebody in our life. Some of us more than others, some of us on a more continual basis, and some on a short term. There's the things that if you look through your life, you have had a variety of friends. Some friends are lifelong friends. They are meant to be a lifelong friends. There are other friends that came into your life, and you look back at that, and then they didn't stay for whatever reason, moved or whatever, but those friends were sent to you for a particular reason or time
For
to
that
help you
season.
yes, for that season to help you get through that. So for the women that are being catty or whatnot, whether it's jealousy, you feel threatened or
Confidence.
intimidated or
Yeah.
whatever the case may be, support people, support each other, and be there for people. And I think it'll be life-changing when you start to actually be supportive instead of being so catty and backstabbing.
Right, and then what you put out there, you will get back.
Oh, I believe in karma.
Becky, I'm excited. Congratulations.
Oh my gosh, thank you. It is so good to be on here. I really appreciate it. Empowering Women with Words, life-changing conversations. It'll be out in the fall. We're so excited. And everybody buy the book.
Yes, and I want to know about it. Tag me. Thank you for being here at Connect with Christina, a.k.a.
The Cloud to God.
Brand new biz, never asked her how she get it. Made a couple racks, I never asked her how she did it. City girls out to have fun.